Hey, it's Debbie, and I wanted to do a follow-up on podcast recently done on choline and the role of bile in our body for fat metabolism, detoxification, and hormone balance. So this is more of a part two, going a little bit deeper dive, how we can connect the dots between your symptoms and your body systems. So you can rebuild the whole you from the inside out to create the ideal version of yourself in the future, the FutureYou Program. So you can learn more on my website, debbiepotts.net. I am an FDN practitioner and a nutritional therapy practitioner and forever a personal trainer and coach. But I'm not a doctor. I'm just going into these deep rabbit holes so we understand how amazing the body is and how sometimes it just needs the right nutrients and rewiring of the nervous system to get a reboot to function as it should be with its innate intelligence if we correct the pathways, open things up, and give it the body the nutrients it needs so we have metabolic harmony. So, as we're continuing down this deep dive on one of the most overlooked root causes between fatigue, stubborn weight gain, hormone imbalances, and brain fog, is connecting choline, bile, liver detox, and cholesterol. So, you can eat clean and you might be training hard, but if your bile is not flowing, your metabolism is not going. So, let's connect the dots in this liver detox drainage section we're going into. So detoxification is not a juice cleanse. So if you think, oh, I'm doing a juice cleanse, I'm cleaning up my liver. No, I want to talk about how liver detoxification, phase 1, 2, and 3, we always want to start with 3, is a biochemical sequence. It's your master filter is your liver, turning fat soluble toxins into water soluble waste so they can leave your body safely. And you can imagine what happens if those toxins don't leave your body. They are recirculating. So I often refer to the analogy of the washing machine and phase 1 and phase 2 and how we need to wash and rinse and then eliminate through the drain. So let's talk about phase 1 activation of the detoxification process. Phase 1 is the biotransformation. This is your liver, the liver's first line of defense. So we'll hear the enzyme called cytochrome P450. In phase 1, this is where toxins as caffeine that we drink, alcohol, medications, estrogens, pesticides, plastics are activated into intermediate compounds. But here's the twist. Those intermediates are often more reactive and inflammatory than the original toxin. So I always think of after phase 1 detox pathway to phase 2, there's a transition period. Same as if you did triathlons, as I did. We have T1 and T2, transition from the swim to the bike and transition from the bike to the run. Similar here in the liver detoxification. If phase 1 liver detox is running faster than phase 2, we get a buildup. You get overload of oxidative stress. This can lead to fatigue, irritability, and common detox reactions that we hear about. Now, understand as we talk about nutritional therapy for the body to create metabolic harmony for the FutureYou program, we have key nutrients the body needs for liver detoxification, specifically your B vitamins, B2, B3, B6, folate, B12. And then we need glutathione, CoQ10, think statin drugs, how that decreases that CoQ10, vitamin C, vitamin E. Then we have sulforaphane, and we can get those in broccoli sprouts, but I don't eat those enough to get that from my food, but broccoli sprouts are a good source, and quercetin and curcumin. The key point here in phase 1 is that you can't just detox with, say, green juice. You do need the raw materials that actually are needed for phase 1 detoxification to run the system. So we need key nutrients for that. Now we go into phase 2. This is the conjugation phase, neutralization. This is where the liver is packaging up and labeling those toxins. So it takes those reactive intermediates from phase 1. Now we're over in phase 2, where it neutralizes them by attaching these reactive intermediates to molecules, methyl groups, sulfur compounds, amino acids, and glucuroninates. So methyl groups, these are going to come from choline, folate, B12, and betaine. Sulfur compounds, think of these different buckets we've got. This comes from sulfane, we need taurine, NAC, and getting your cruciferous vegetables. And then we need amino acids as glycine and glutamine. And then we have glucuroninates, however you say that, for hormone and chemical clearance. Now, this process known as conjugation, this is where the choline we were talking about really shines. Choline donates methyl groups to methylation. This is a vital process that supports DNA repair, detoxification, hormone balance, and neurotransmitter production. So without choline in our diet, from food or from supplementing, these toxins pile up. Estrogen clearance slows down, and now fat starts to accumulate in the liver. So, do you have symptoms of poor phase 2 detoxification? Do we see in your labs, in your investigation, any signs and symptoms of estrogen dominance? Maybe you have really bad PMS, fibroids, females, heavy cycles. So that could be estrogen dominance related. We want to test and not guess. Do you have chemical sensitivity? Do you get a lot of headaches? How about fatty liver pattern on your labs? What about fatigue and poor recovery from workouts? These are all clues to symptoms of poor phase 2 detoxification. And then phase 3 drainage, which really is always worked on before phase 1 and 2, is important because this is the exit pathway. This is where the toxins are packaged up, put a bow on, and say goodbye. They are neutralized, but they need a way out. This happens through bile, urine, sweat, and stool. So the liver loads these conjugated compounds into bile, which flows through the bile ducts into the gallbladder. And then we'll talk about what happens if you got gallbladder taken out, which so many people seem to sadly have gotten it out, and then eventually into the small intestine. So if your bile flow is sluggish, toxins are reabsorbed, and this is called enterohepatic recirculation. And this is when you start feeling toxic. So if your bile flow is slow, sluggish, stagnant, those toxins recirculate, they're reabsorbed. Not good. And we start to have problems. So if your bile flow is sluggish, toxins are reabsorbed, you start feeling toxic, you start feeling more brain fog, fatigue, rashes, constipation, hormone congestion. So this is why we talk all the time with our clients, drainage before detox. You cannot clear the toxins if your exit routes are blocked. So we need to open the pathways before we support phase 1 and 2, and before we start doing any killing of the bad guys, start war. Now, what can we do nutritionally? Choline and phosphatidylcholine keep the bile fluid and protect our liver membranes. Bile acids help improve bile flow and fat digestion. So maybe you could benefit from TEDCA or ox bile, something to talk about with your practitioner, especially if you have your gallbladder removed. Bitters help as well. They can stimulate CCK, which tells the gallbladder to release bile. So bitters can be little droplets. You can buy a bottle on Full Script, dandelion, arugula. Those are all different bitters, but I like the liquid bitters that you can just put in some water and have before you eat. Magnesium and fiber when appropriate. I find not everyone, if you have diarrhea issues or you don't want fiber, but you want to keep the bowels moving. So we want to make sure we have magnesium on board and we have everything in balance. Now, hydration is key with right minerals. Sauna, I use my sunlight in sauna probably 4 or 5 days a week. Castor oil packs you can do as Queen of Thrones, and you can put that over your liver. This can support lymphatic and liver flow. So if your bile is not moving, those toxins and hormones are not leaving. They're staying around, which is not good. So just to review this, phase 1 is activation, but it needs B vitamins. It needs antioxidants and glutathione. Phase 2 is that conjugation phase. This is where we need those methyl donors, choline, folate, B12, and amino acids. Phase 3, drainage needs the bile to flow. Not sticky, not too thin, just right amount, that Goldilocks effect. We need proper hydration, fiber, and open pathways, not clogged. So we want to clear up the traffic jam first. So when any of these phases are congested, your detox system is impaired. We have more traffic jams and more symptoms surface. So next segment we'll do on the gallbladder and the fat hormone control valve, and then what happens if you don't have a gallbladder. So stay tuned for the next section on another video. Talk soon. Head to debbiepotts.net to learn more.